right. Call the June 23rd meeting of the Topsham Planning Board to order. Please do the roll call.
I will. Dawn Span has been excused. Carrie Bickford. Present. Ronald Bisson.
Present.
Larry Grand.
Present.
Dan Flagg. Scott Libby.
Present.
Joshua Spooner. So I don't have Dan Flagg or Joshua Spooner. Has either one called in to be excused?
At least one of them did, possibly both. I'd have to check.
Okay, thank you.
I know what I mean.
Yeah, that's what we called.
All right. I did not get a chance to look at the minutes, but
I did.
you did. Any comments on the minutes or any motion to be made?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the minutes from June 9, 2022 as submitted.
Second.
I've got a correction.
Oh, one correction.
In line A, called to order, it says the recording secretary took the roll call and noted that everyone on the board was present in person.
I tried to get away with that. I was hoping that I'd get away with it and I'd change it. You wouldn't see it. I'm sorry. I was upset. He reads the minutes.
You're leaving that to make sure that we're reading them, right?
Yeah, I did it on purpose. Thank you.
Okay. So are you amending my motion, Ron? Who wasn't present?
Scott Libby.
I wasn't present.
Scott wasn't.
Right. I can vouch for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, yeah, it said you were present, not present in person, you weren't present, period. Right. So who wasn't in person?
I'd have to look at the minutes. I don't have a
No,
copy
the
of the
last
minutes.
meeting you were,
Josh was here. I know
Yeah,
that.
Josh was here, Dan was here.
yeah. everyone else was-
Everybody was there except for Scott.
Just Scott, okay.
Right,
I was gonna.
Thanks for calling me out, Ron.
right, but everybody else, everyone on the board sitting was present in person. Right, none of us were Zoom.
Okay, all right. So as amended, do we have a second?
Second.
Any other changes? No, no more comments? All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? We're all set.
Thank you.
All right,
Sorry, Pat.
we'll move on to the first and only item on our agenda tonight, site plan for Topsham Lewiston Solar LLC. It was submitted at the proposed solar farm at the north side of Lewiston Road, Route 196, tax map R02, lot 84. All right.
You want us to use the podium or the mic or?
The mics aren't on, so you don't
Okay.
have to use the mic. I meant to move that out of the way, actually, but
Great. All right,
Podium's all yours.
great. Hi, everyone. I think probably all of you know me by now, but I'm Karen Moody from Stantec. I'm here with Martha Staskis from Norwich, representing the Topsham Lewiston Solar Project. So this is a 1.9 approximately megawatt project off of Lewiston Road, as Scott said on map 2, R2 lot 84 and 44A. I'm just going to start with a quick summary of our town engagement process here so far. So we attended the pre-application conference with the board in February, filed our site plan application on April 21st. We received the preliminary staff review comments and provided responses to those on May 20th. And then we received technical review comments and we provided responses to those on June 10th. And here we are, June 23rd, to go over the project with you, answer any further questions and provide some additional updates. So I'll just do a quick project summary and then turn it over to you for questions, and Martha can jump in at any time as well. But so this is a fixed tilt solar project. So the panels will be approximately 10 feet high at the highest point in the rear. The size of the project meets the town's definition of a large scale solar energy system. It's just shy of 3 acres of panel coverage. In addition to the panels, there will be a gravel access road that will extend off of the existing drives. There's just a short kind of nub of a existing driveway on the parcel off of Lewiston Road. We use that for the entrance and then extend that driveway into the array. Then there will be an equipment pad for transformer and such, and electrical collector lines that will connect the project to the point of interconnection right off of Lewiston Road. The whole project will be fenced, per usual, at least 6 inches off the ground for small animals to pass through, and then gated and secured with a Knox box or similar lock to allow the town access in the event of emergency. The total fenced area is just shy of 10 acres. And then the total limit of disturbance is right around 14.7 acres. So on that access road, I did want to mention, I know we got some questions about that from the technical review comments. So it varies in width from 16 feet to 20 feet. And that is due to conversations that we had with the fire chief, requesting portions of the road be 20 feet wide for emergency vehicle access. He did not feel the whole road needed to be 20 feet wide just because it's not a site that is going to be regularly accessed. So we talked that through with him, have, areas where we're not constrained by wetlands. Those areas are the 20 feet wide segments, and then the road does pass through a wetland, so we've kept it at 16 feet in that location. And then we have a hammerhead turnaround at the end for emergency vehicles to turn around. Those are the basics of the project. The site itself, it's primarily undeveloped, previously harvested forest. As you are aware, there are portions of the project that are mapped as the low, medium rated, I don't know exactly what you guys call it, but habitat area that on the town's mapping. So we will have to pay that habitat mitigation fee. And we made that calculation based on the amount of total disturbance within the mapped area. And that's all laid out in our application. And then just a couple of quick updates since we filed the application in April. So we submitted a Tier 2 Natural Resources Protection Act permit to the DEP for wetland impacts. That was filed at the end of May. The town should have received a hard copy of that application. So that's in process with DEP now. We filed the DOT driveway permit application in April and apparently is approved. Martha just needs to pick up her copy at the office in Brunswick. And then we made note of this in our original application filing that when we reached out to the agencies for initial consultation, Maine Natural Areas Program identified 2 species of rare plants that had the potential to occur on the project site, and they recommended field surveys for those plants. So we completed those surveys on June 1st. Did not find any rare, threatened, or endangered plants. We have not finished up the reporting for that field effort, but when we do, we're happy to provide a copy of the report to the town. So those, I think, are the major updates. The plans have changed a little bit along the way based on the comments we got from the town and the technical review comments, but you all have the latest and greatest plans that I provided to Kate. So I guess with that, I'll turn it over to questions unless you want to tack anything on.
Yeah, I would just say the plans really haven't substantively changed. They've changed to address primarily the access. And our goal is to have our footprint be as,
If you can state your name,
oh, sorry.
just for the record.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
actually, I'm sorry that I didn't do that. My name is Martha Staskis. I'm the Chief Development Officer for Norwich Technologies. And I've been working with Kara on our projects across Maine, actually. So I just wanted to add that our goal here is to keep our footprint as small as possible in terms of installation. The solar array as you folks, I'm pretty sure are aware, there's not a lot of service that needs to be done. We monitor it remotely, monitor our arrays remotely. So again, we wanted to keep the footprint in terms of access as limited as possible. But we did meet the requirements and requests from the technical reviewer.
Thank you. And speaking of the technical reviewer, I just want to go through Tom's response to the response to the response. It's great. Everyone's going back and forth, got a lot of things checked off, which is fantastic. There still seem to be a few underlying questions. I assume you have this letter from the 13th. The first one is about the financial assurance section and that the decommissioning surety does not meet the state and local ordinance requirements. And how are we dealing with that?
Yeah, well, go ahead. You go. So the decommissioning plan is, I just signed it this morning, so it's going into Maine DEP. We filed similar, I don't know who to give this to, but I asked our civil engineer who has prepared the plan for application to provide a little bit more detail. They have used the same methodology on quite a few of their other projects that they're doing in Maine. And so we believe that it's the appropriate calculation and methodology that will meet DEP's requirements.
And I think in terms of the financial assurance, I think we had said this in one of our response letters, but that we would provide the, it's going to be the final financial assurance for decommissioning prior to the start of construction via a bond or other form of surety that does meet the town's requirements. We understand that the letter that we referenced in the application doesn't meet the town's requirements, but that we would address that prior to construction, similar to what we go through with DEP for decommissioning before going to construction.
Right, and I would expect all of those details to be completed when we have our pre-construction meeting prior to our having a pre-construction meeting with the town. We have all that stuff in place.
All right, and as far as
Just so everyone knows too, in our solar ordinance, there is a provision that the town can have the decommissioning assurance amount peer reviewed at the applicant's expense. So if after we go through this with our peer review engineer and he's still not sure about the amount, we can have that additionally reviewed.
okay, to that end, because I had seen that in there and in our ordinance, does that specific approach get captured under the condition number 12, that this approval is conditioned on the applicant satisfying all technical comments?
Yeah, I think
Or
it-
does it need to be a
I don't-
specific?
I didn't think, Tom Lister and I didn't think it needed to be a specific condition because it's in the ordinance already. So we're allowed to do it whether Tom Saucier, whether it's part of technical review or not. We're allowed to do it for everyone according to the ordinance.
And then the other item that he called out was the traffic control plan, which I think obviously once the array is up and running, there's not much of an issue there. But with the large trucks and things, I know you noticed in the plan, you talked about signalers and signage. That sounds like a plan, but can we have, I think it was either us as a board or the town asked for a specific plan for that.
Sure, I talked with Maine DOT and they said that they are the ones, because it's on state highway, that they would be regulating it, but that I understand that the town would like something additional. I think we're talking about period of installation and then theoretically decommissioning, if and when we're to get there. So we can certainly put something more together that would mirror what the state is asking for, and then I guess I'm gonna work with Kara to meet what you folks would like to see. We're talking, this is a 2 megawatt array. It's a smaller system, so there'll be a short period of time when there'll be deliveries and then work continues out on the site. So, but we can put together what you would like.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a short period of time. There's steps you've already outlined you're going to take.
Yep.
I don't think it's that big a reach to have a plan that can come before us. And I know, what I have is what Tom Saucier has provided. He was, his language stating that there's not a requirement by Maine DOT to have a plan.
Right.
But I think it's something that we as a board had mentioned and the town has mentioned. So
Sure.
that would be great. And to that end, Kate, is that something that needs to be an additional condition, or is that because it's in his technical comments is captured? Just want to make sure we've had a couple of meetings where we've had general discussions that
Yeah.
have said they've been captured in the conditions
And then not.
and then not.
I think if we're going to, we have those concerns, I think we should capture them actually specifically in the conditions. I mean, I know the ordinance says that, but,
Yeah.
I prefer to have them,
I
And
agree.
that would be okay.
Yeah, that's
I agree.
With
totally
you
fine.
guys.
yeah.
You jotting this down?
Can I ask?
Wait, just one more, and then I'm just gonna open up there.
All right.
The only other item on Tom's list is kind of the catch-all for the drawings. I did not go back and look at well, I looked at it through my screen, I can't see it very well. It seemed like all of those are pretty straightforward. Those
Yeah, I
are all
think
captured in
we're
the latest.
pretty set on those. I think that the Krebs in Lansing, the civil engineering firm, has made most of these changes already. We were just kind of waiting to make sure there were no additional requests and things that needed to be changed, so we could do it all in one swoop. So yeah, I don't think we had any questions about his comments on the drawings or any of his other comments.
Thank you. Yes, open it up, Carrie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a few questions on the decommissioning process as well. First of all, do we have any examples of solar farms that actually have gone through that process? I mean, I know that they're fairly new and they're the rage right now, and we're hearing about them all the time, but we're talking how many years down the road, 25, 30? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, is that pretty
Well,
much
to
the
be
average?
to be honest with you, once you've installed the racking and the underground conduit, I kind of equate it like changing the tires on your car. Once you've got that hard infrastructure in, if you can keep it there, and let's say the panels wear out, there is a degradation that occurs over time. So the panels can be replaced. But you have that infrastructure there. So hopefully, as we all move towards renewable energy more, it'll stay. That being said, if there were a reason that it would come out, that's the purpose of the plan. And the goal of the plan is to be able to, number one, recycle whatever we can. And then remove the remaining infrastructure that's in place. Top seed or top dress and seed disturbed areas like the road, things like that.
Yeah, and if there's any that have been decommissioned, they probably aren't in the United States.
Yeah.
So it's hard not to have an example. I mean, usually when you're looking at policy, either starting something new or fixing something that's needs fixing, you always go to what are other states doing? What are other countries doing?
For sure.
So, I do not know a lot about solar. I know what they look like. I would hate to see a field of just an abandoned solar farm sitting there in a town. And that's, I think, what we all don't want to see in the future.
Agreed.
And, what happens if, the company goes belly up? What happens, all of those things I'm sure are taken care of in the plan.
Well, that's the purpose for the fund,
Yes.
so that there will be, that there is confidence for the town and that there will be funds there to remove the facility.
Yeah.
And that decommissioning estimate is revisited every 5 years after.
It's, yeah,
What
well,
is
DEP's requirements are that you, after 15 years,
Yeah.
the first 15 years you're good. And then every 5 years thereafter. So you basically reassess the cost to decommission it and then update your bond or whatever your financial assurance mechanism is accordingly. And then you're good for another 5 years. And so I guess to kind of some of your concerns, I would say that one, benefit is that the DEP has this new solar decommissioning law that they enacted in the fall. So because of all, the influx of solar projects across the state. So there is, that kind of some set standards on how these projects will be decommissioned, the financial assurance component and whatnot. So which is better than they had before that law, which is not.
Any other questions? Mary, Ron? No?
Well, I apologize if it's in the plan somewhere,
There's a lot of materials here.
There are a lot of
Fair enough.
materials.
That's right.
So my concern, obviously, during the construction phase, I assume most of the material will rise was via tractor trailer.
Yeah.
And is there somewhere in the plans, something showing how those tractor trailers are turning around once they're in the site? And is there, and while we're on the same area, your laydown area, is that?
Yep, is that what, are these our
I don't
plans?
know.
They should be your plans.
So it might be just easier because these are the big ones and
Yes.
these little ones are very hard to read.
They're even harder to read on a small computer screen. You try to
Fair enough.
But I can
Scroll
give
through
you,
257 pages.
You guys want to pass it around?
I'm gonna come in with the big plan here. So this
I
is
had to open my mouth, didn't I?
196.
Yep.
And then this is the laydown area. This is when Kara was talking earlier about the short entrance that's already paved. That's out
Right.
here.
Yeah, familiar with that.
Okay. And so here's where we turn it around. And then did I go past that? Yeah, the entrance. Tripod.
It
Oh,
would-
sorry.
It would be good to actually have it, so,
Share it to everybody.
not that I expect you have a huge audience at home, but,
We don't have anyone.
We don't have
right now,
anyone.
Scott,
Oh.
so I'm sorry.
okay.
Oh, here.
Oh, we're.
These are the
just-
detailed plans that
Yeah,
turn you
okay.
around.
But I won't worry.
Okay.
Okay.
I figured
I
it
was
probably
going
in
to
here
share my
somewhere.
screen, but then
but-
I-
Yeah, well,
There's
we,
no
we
watching.
added to it,
We're
so
all
we're
right.
trying to make it a little bit more robust. This is
Everybody has better things to do on a Thursday night in the summer, I guess.
Turn it
Yeah.
around.
The sun doesn't go down.
Because that'll be permanent.
2 hours.
I assume the laydown area and the turnaround are all temporary.
Yeah, well, yeah, the under the sub base, if you will, it said, but you would top dress and seat it. because-
Right.
Right, okay.
Yep.
Because we'll want it if we ever have to come back to take it out.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't. Do you want it?
I was able to see
Okay.
that on the screen.
Yeah, and you can pass the small ones
Actually,
around.
I like the way it's set up. I know
Okay.
in other, for some of the other projects, it's been a bit of an issue to see where the trucks are going, where people are parking, how the
Yep.
trucks are turning around, and I think your plan shows it very clearly,
Good.
and thank you very much. for doing that.
Well, thank you.
I'm good.
Okay.
Like I said, I figured they're probably in there somewhere, but I,
How many acres in
In it's 14 within the fenced area.
Nine within the fence there.
Excuse me, 9 within the
7.
fenced area, 14 for shade management and construction. The total limit of the disturbance. of the trucks.
But there's only 3 of panel.
Right,
Right, yeah. Like if, bird's eye view kind of.
Yeah.
right. The big, it's to cut those trees so that we're producing energy.
Any others?
no, I think you covered my other areas.
All right. Well, I actually have 2 more questions. One is more just for my own knowledge, and that is, you mentioned it's gonna be going out to 196 to hook up to the CMP lines. Is that because it's AC? Like, there's no way to get to the CMP lines that border the
They're
northwest?
too big.
They're too big.
Yeah, those are transmission, and we're gonna interconnect to sub-transmission 3-phase.
And as far as the connection, are obviously there'll be some, it sounds like poles along the road at some point. And then it's connecting, I'm not sure where the poles are on 196, are they on that side of the road? or
They're
the
on
other
the
side?
other side of the
So
road.
there'll be like
They'll cross the road.
go across the road, so there'll be a pole at the entrance
Yeah,
and then across.
right, and that'll be, we can't apply for the utility access, the utility location permit, but CMP will do that when they're ready.
And what does that mean?
Oh, sorry, there is a permit required by the utility to cross
To
the
cross the
state
road.
highway. So it'll go into Maine DOT, but they have to submit it, we can't.
Right. And that, my next question would be, there doesn't have to be a substation at that point.
No,
It's-
no, no, no.
it's straight
We're
into
gonna
line.
hook right into that pole, yep.
Then the last question I had about the habitat mitigation fee. In the section where it's brought up on like page 15, you cite 10.98 acres, but on page 4, you say 14.75, and a couple times in the meeting, you said 14.75.
Yeah, that's because the
so-
total limit of disturbance of the project is 14, it used to be 14.75, now it's 14.71. But the whole parcel isn't mapped as habitat mitigation fee area, so the part of that we overlap with disturbance is 10.98 acres.
So the whole parcel is not in that low to medium?
Right, it's
Okay,
like,
some
I
of it's-
mean, it's
I
like,
think you
The parcel closest to the road is
Yep.
probably,
you can see
outside
it
of
on
the-
this figure the best. though,
Just one of the
Shannon.
big maps here. so.
So it's this habitat mitigation colored with this orangey color.
Yeah.
So
So it
it,
doesn't
you
get
can,
too
right,
shady.
exactly,
Okay.
so it's sort of this amorphous
okay,
thing. So
it's up in
of our 14.71 acres, we have 10.98 that's within that.
okay, thank you.
Sure.
We officially have to open up to the public for comment.
I think you do have
Yeah.
to, but it's officially a
Yeah.
public hearing.
All right, I'll open it up to the public for comment
We have
Sure.
no one on Zoom or on YouTube.
or in the room. Period close.
Public comment, it's nice to be in person.
Kim, any question?
Being a newbie and very new to solar, can you give me the layman's sort of like, I don't know, if you had a big flow chart of how your energy works, you have your
Instead of
panels. And they obviously get energy from the sun, and then where does it go
Sure,
from here?
I like these kinds of questions.
I mean, and also I kind of want to know, locally, how do we benefit from that? Do we at all, or do we not? And that's just a question. I know I've heard so many things about electrical wires coming, Canada, that of the whole CMP corridor and all that. And I don't
Right,
understand.
oh, yeah, I know.
I don't understand the electricity part, so
Okay, so it's complicated.
I'm sure.
And I'll try to keep it easy. And it's interesting because I know you have a 22 megawatt project going in, and that they're just two completely different animals in the sense of how the energy works in terms of where it's going. So this is a 2 megawatt, and that's 22 megawatts, okay? The 22 megawatt is going to connect, I'm sure, into those transmission lines. And we have what's called transmission lines and distribution lines. And what you see along the road, what goes to your house, what's down here, is basically distribution. And it goes, so from transmission, it goes into a substation, and the substation sends it out to our homes on distribution lines. Just, that's the, honestly, first grade.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
Okay, I don't,
Absolutely.
there's probably smarter people here that could explain it differently, but I think keeping it simple helps.
Yes.
So the 22 megawatt project puts out so many electrons that it will connect to the higher voltage lines. Our project will only put out 2 megawatts of capacity, and it can connect into the 3-phase distribution lines. So the electrons that are generated at the solar panel go down through an inverter. They're generated at DC power, and it's converted in an inverter to AC. But it goes from the panel, it goes into the inverter, and then the project has on those plans somewhere, it shows an underground collector line, and that's cable, that's electrical wires and conduit, and that's actually the first thing we install because they're underground, and what it does is it collects all the energy generated from each one of those rows of solar panels. Then that goes to a disconnect, and that's sort of a safety thing, conversion. And then it goes out to CMP's distribution line. And that's what we call the point of interconnection. The point of interconnection is where our energy goes on their system. And there'll be a pad mount transformer that will bring that power into the system. I mean, these are just layman's terms. I'm not an engineer, so I think I can keep it simple. So then those electrons just go on the wires, okay? And I equate it sometimes to like, I'm from Vermont and we're big on maple syrup. So all of the tubing from the maple syrup goes into one great big vat, and we put our buckets under there and have a gallon of syrup, right? And so think of that as like your house. If each one of those gallons of syrup is a house, they're getting 1 gallon, or they're getting whatever the kilowatt hours that they receive. So that's the meter that's at your house, counting how many electrons you use. So electrons have 2 paths, or energy has 2 paths, in the sense that the electrons will go to the closest outlet. They'll service the closest place that it can travel on the wires. There's also an accounting path, who's paying for it and who's receiving the benefit of it. And that happens at CMP through your electric account. And you're getting those, you're paying those for those kilowatt hours used. What this project will do is be a net metered project. And so we're working with other entities. I'm working, in particular, I'm working with a senior care living facility. They're a big generator. And so they can use all of those energy credits that are coming. So we usually work with institutions, towns. If you guys want to sign up, I'd love to talk to you.
That have one already.
Yeah, good. And so those will be the entities that would receive the direct net metered credits of the energy produced from the array. I don't know who it is at the moment, because usually it's tough to sign somebody up until you're ready to build it, and we're a little bit of ways from that.
So are you finding that a lot of your projects that you're actually finding a local entity that, instead of, having this here in Topsham and having it go somewhere?
Yeah, well, as long as it's in CMP's territory, it benefits a CMP customer. So because they have such a huge territory, it really is a meter to meter kind of a thing. I don't know if that answers.
No,
Does it?
helpful.
Okay, cool.
But your facility will meter what goes into the CMP system.
That's right.
And
then
then
another-
you sell the net energy credits
Right.
to whatever entity wishes to buy those net energy
Exactly.
credits.
Exactly.
Does CMP actually have a 3-phase line by this property?
Oh, yeah.
Do they?
We don't want to build, we don't want to
Oh,
build
okay.
any distribution.
Somebody said one
further
time
than
they thought it was
have to.
only 2-phase out.
We may,
How about that?
I'm not, I have to admit, I'm at the moment, I think it's the one with like a third of a mile. Yeah, it comes across the road and then it goes down. I think it's like 3,300 feet down the road to where we can interconnect the 3-phase. So we will pay to upgrade those poles.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just like I said, I'd heard somewhere before, there was only 2 phase.
Yeah, thank you for correcting me on that, because I was thinking that it was right across the street, but I'm pretty sure we have to go down the roadways. I get some of these projects mixed up, I
And
apologize.
those poles will be the poles that are already there, replacing the existing ones, not,
They'll probably put newer ones,
but
but
replace
they'll
them
be the
on
same
that.
size.
on the
Yeah, a pole that has a cross arm and then 3 wires going from it.
On, because I didn't notice this when I looked at the plot, the maps. Where are the inverter and transformer on your
So-
site?
The inverters will be on the back of the rows of panels. And then
So does each row of panels have?
That's where-
not
The
necessarily,
AC
they
disconnect
put
and
them
then
by
the
strings.
transformer.
They're sort of in
and
the
then the
electrical
transformer
string.
here.
You're tapping
Two
beyond
sort
my
of
knowledge in terms of
exactly.
exactly the string. But I know that
Yeah,
the
there's a lot
inverters are like, they'll be
going on.
periodically along the back of certain roads. And then they'll all go into this, so then they'll all go into this combiner, it's called combiner pedestal. It'll bring all the energy under this underground to this location, and this, from these rows will come down to this location. And then we have the disconnect, and then we have the transformer pad. And that's where it gets amped up to.
The reason I asked is when you're giving your simplified version, it sounded like there was going to be a transformer pad near the connect itself, but the transformer pad is the one that's on your site. The
Right,
energy that's going out is just going straight into the distribution lines.
Right.
There's no new transformer.
no,
3,300
not
feet
out
down
by the road,
Okay.
yeah. No, the projects we do, and so the projects we do in Vermont, we actually have 3 hanging on a pole. You see, like near Walmart, sometimes they use enough power that they'll have multiple transformers that'll hang on a pole. This project's bigger than that, so it'll have a pad mount transformer.
Any other questions? Anyone ready to make a motion that may have a couple extra conditions added? to
Yeah,
it?
let me get this up.
I'll take a stab. Somebody else jumping in. Okay. I move the site plan application for Topsham Lewiston Solar be located on tax map R2, lots 44A and 84. Meets the applicable standards in the site plan review ordinance, chapter 175, and the zoning ordinance, chapter 225, including the specific performance standards for solar energy conversion systems, with the staff recommended conditions and findings identified in the memo dated June 15, 2022. Those conditions are set forth as recommended conditions of approval 1 through 14. And I propose that we add condition 15, that the town hire at the applicant's expense a qualified professional to review the engineer's estimate with regard to the decommissioning plan. And also recommend or add as condition 16 that the applicant provide a traffic control plan that even though not requested, or even though, let me rephrase this, even if Maine DOT does not request one, that we have a traffic control plan to be reviewed by our peer review engineer.
Second.
All right. All in favor? So unanimous.
Can I ask just a quick question? The version I have is dated June 16th, and it already has the decommissioning, hiring a,
Oh, that was a draft. I must have sent you a draft, and that's not the one that That's
Oh.
a draft.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I put it in there and then I took it
Oh,
out.
okay, got it.
I
Okay.
forgot that I sent you my draft.
No, no
I'm
problem.
caught thinking about
Like I
it.
say, you didn't send me your draft.
Can I ask a question too? With respect to the reviewer of the decommissioning, do you know the methodology that they propose to use?
I actually, our peer review engineer and I are working on identifying who could peer review such a thing, as we haven't used that mechanism from the ordinance before. So I don't know what methodology they'll use yet.
So
I've also
I guess
reached
my
out to
concern,
DEP to see how they,
what's that?
I also recently reached out to DEP, their permitting staff, to see how they're reviewing these
Yeah,
applications, but I haven't heard back. They haven't given me information yet.
well, that's what I'm trying to balance, is if DEP uses one methodology and this peer reviewer is using a different one, I just want to understand what he's gonna be, or she is gonna be looking at it from what perspective.
Yeah, this is all new to us too, so,
Wait, I thought you did the 22 megawatt project.
but we didn't have their decommissioning review.
Oh, they were before, yeah, got it.
Yeah,
All right.
I suppose the other aspect is if, there's a big discrepancy between the DEP and something else, you can always ask to come back here in order for us to resolve the discrepancy.
Didn't you have something in there about with the planning office?
I don't know, did I say it?
What, I missed that.
I thought we gave you a little discretion.
Yeah.
We were talking about it earlier. But we'll see, we'll rewind it.
Yeah, we were, okay.
yeah, I will say the person I spoke to at DEP, so he said that they too are seeing a very, very wide range of decommissioning, basically estimates. So it's a bit of a, yeah, I don't know if there's a definite right answer at this point in solar development. And feel free to correct me if I'm making an assumption there. but-
No, I haven't seen that, but I'm not looking at my competitors, if you will. But we specifically talked about this in the sense that to your sort of question, what are other states doing? And so I know that this method has been utilized pretty extensively in Massachusetts, and it is based upon the New York, I call it NYSERDA, New York Energy.
New York State Energy Development.
Yeah, it's their renewable energy office in New York, as you know, they have tons of solar, so that's a pretty tried and true methodology. And then it was the estimate that we provided is adjusted specifically for Maine labor rates and materials. So there has been some tweaking to make it applicable to Maine.
What do you, and you don't have to answer this, but I assume you've done some projects in Vermont.
Oh my God, too many. I like coming over here. Let me put it that way. Yes.
And knowing Vermont, I'm presuming that there were decommissioning
Good question.
plans there, weren't there?
Yeah, so it depends on the size of the project. So
Yeah.
most of the projects, the program in the state of Vermont is more geared towards 500 kilowatts, so a quarter of the size of this
Right.
project.
Yeah.
And in that case, there is a decommissioning plan, and it's regulated by the state. And so the state has definite requirements. When it stops operating at a certain percentage, you have to take that out. You calculate what it's gonna cost based upon taking out the equipment, but you can leave the underground. They have very specific
Oh,
guidance.
yeah.
When it's larger than that, though, to the size of this, we do, the Public Utility Commission requires a letter of credit held with the state, because it's the Public Utility Commission, for a decommissioning, it's a decommissioning letter of credit.
Yeah.
So. And again, the same cost estimate.
Same process.
Yeah.
All right. I enjoy this conversation,
This-
but we We voted, we move on, and I expect that there's not gonna be a huge difference between what the our peer reviewers.
Yeah.
That is something you guys do compared to the overall cost of the project. for sure.
Yeah,
So,
And so the way that will work
Look
is
forward
that
to seeing
you'll contact us.
Yeah, I need to talk to,
Set
we
that
need
up
to see
or
if we
something.
can, if we found someone who can peer review it, and I assume they're gonna wanna look at your methodology primarily. And
it's all public.
yeah, we'll go from there. I'll keep in touch, because basically
Okay.
Tom Saucier and I have never peer reviewed a decommissioning survey
Yeah.
before, so we'll let you know how that goes.
There you go.
so I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Adjourn?